Hello, everyone, and welcome to Changing What's Possible, the Disability Innovation Podcast brought to you by the Cerebral Palsy Alliance Research Foundation. I'm your host, Dr. Marie McNeely, and this season we are excited to bring you remarkable stories of life-changing technology. And today we have with us Zoe Davies from the company Homeable. And Zoe is going to talk about how they are creating personalized and accessible smart home solutions to increase independence and empower individuals living with disabilities in their own homes. And in the second half of our episode today, we are going to hear from Mel Le Bas, who is using Homeable to customize her own home with accessible smart technology. So listeners, let's get started. Zoe, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are excited to hear all about you and all about Homeable. So can you start by telling us more about the company and your role?
Absolutely. So I'm a co-founder at Homeable, and Homeable's mission is to improve the quality of life and empowerment at home for people living with a disability through creating accessible smart home solutions and educating on the benefits of smart home technology. I guess home is obviously a really huge part of our lives, especially now more than ever. In fact, I think that the average person spends between 50 and 60% of their waking life at home. And therefore, any way that we can bring improvements into the way someone spends that time, such as automating tasks that many of us might take for granted, overall will have a huge impact on their well-being. And this is why we do what we do and why we're on this mission at Homeable. And I guess to sort of break down that accessibility piece a bit further, when at Homeable we talk about our mission of creating accessible smart home solutions, we aren't talking about one siloed aspect of a solution being accessible. We're actually referring to the end-to-end accessibility of a customer experience and a customer journey, and making all the touch points of that journey accessible. And this includes that a customer journey does not end when a customer makes a purchase. So I guess my role in the company, to be honest, as a co-founder, you have to wear a lot of different hats in the business as you're kind of starting the organization from the ground up. However, my key focus areas are sort of around customer research, building our go-to-market strategy, including our channel and partner strategy, and our business model and sales. Outside of Homeable, I work for Microsoft in the IoT space as well, and have kind of worked in IoT, which is, called the Internet of Things, for some time now, of which smart home technology falls within from a consumer perspective. So I bring a lot of knowledge on these types of technologies into my role at Homeable. But my real motivation for sort of everything that I do is around the customer impact that technologies can create to improve people's lives when they're fully utilized and fully understood. So yeah, I'm always customer obsessed, and that aligns really well to what we're doing with Homeable.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that you've got this big customer focus in the company, and you mentioned that you're a co-founder. So how did the company get started and why?
The idea of Homeable was actually born out of Remarkable Technologies Design-a-thon, which is sort of a 1-month design-a-thon, where we had a problem statement, which was around how to make smart home technology more accessible for people living with a disability. But throughout this process, it was really when we started to interview a huge amount of people with lived experience with disabilities and sort of undertook that user research that we realized the spectrum of people who either had smart home technology but weren't using it anymore because it wasn't accessible to their user interface needs, or they didn't have it because they didn't know where to start and it seemed too complex, which when you start to really look into it, it really is. Or people who hadn't considered it before, but once they were educated on it and could sort of understand how much it could help impact their lives, they really wanted access to it. So to be honest, after all of this user research, we realized that we weren't going to kind of reinvent the wheel or create a breakthrough technology hardware that solved a very niche area. We wanted to leverage the existing technologies that have been developed and that continue to be developed, but making sure and ensuring that these are delivered in a way that is personalized, understandable, and accessible so that everyone can really benefit from them.
Definitely. And I love that you gathered all these perspectives and feedback from the people who would potentially actually be using this product. I think that's so important for the development and design of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone's lived experience is very different. And so for us, it's been super important to understand many different viewpoints and perspectives around how people want to use technology in their homes, how they want this to be delivered, and what they might need help with so that we can create the largest positive impact possible. And actually everything we're creating at Homeable, we're ensuring is designed with, not only for people living with a disability, not only through this user research, interviews and pilots that I've touched on, but also very early on, we hired 2 people with lived experience to our team. And this has been absolutely invaluable for our whole team and its diversity. And we wouldn't be where we are without them. It's been really incredible. And I guess I think every organization should be doing this, because we also know that experiences that are intentionally designed for and with people living with a disability are not only more attractive to this community, which creates more accessible solutions, but they're also more attractive for people that don't identify as having a disability, because they can improve the customer experience overall for everyone.
Definitely. And I'm so glad to hear that Homeable is incorporating these important perspectives. So I guess to dive into the details here, to help our listeners envision what Homeable is, what does Homeable do and how does the process really work?
So sort of like I touched on, Homeable makes that end-to-end process of using smart home technology more accessible and understandable for everyone. So this includes Homeable designing to specific needs, providing installation, education on how to use, and ongoing support. And maybe to put this into context to make it a little bit more relatable, designing for needs might mean choosing technology based on whether someone's renting or whether they're a homeowner, or if they require touch or voice or other means to communicate. Installation, for example, might mean installing lights for someone who has limited mobility and may not be able to install lights or blinds themselves. And educating means enabling people to actually use the technology to their benefit. And this includes the delivery of non-traditional education. For example, not using inaccessible user manuals for someone who might have limited vision or may be blind. So the way that the kind of end-to-end customer experience works is that customers can complete a needs assessment where we really understand their goals and needs in the home and the barriers that they want to overcome, as well as their current living situation. Our smart home technology experts at Homeable then design a solution for their needs. We can install it, which is optional, obviously, depending on these needs, and we educate on how they can actually use the technology. The how part or the delivery of this very much depends on the individual's needs. It can be in person, it can be video, it can be audio only, etc. We're really creating a lot of accessible content to meet different people's needs, and we're going to continue to innovate in the delivery and education space. And I guess as you can probably tell, we don't have a traditional linear customer model that ends when a customer purchases. The customer experience really continues through that installation and most importantly through that education piece. Our goal is that once we've implemented hundreds or thousands of smart homes, we can streamline some of this process through providing pre-packaged solutions that may benefit different user group types, just to make it a bit easier for people who may want less touch points in that customer journey. So that's the way that currently the process works at Homeable.
Oh, wonderful. So what is, I guess, a typical timeline that a customer might expect?
So this really depends on the individual and what their needs are. We hope to be able to kind of turn around smart home technology solutions from the assessment to the design within a week. But obviously the kind of timelines of actually installing it and receiving the technology will be very dependent on the individual as well as what their solution actually requires.
Definitely. And I'm the sort of person that gets really excited about bringing all this technology into my own home. So what makes Homeable different from other solutions or other technologies that are available for people who are living with disability?
Homeable is sort of removing that one-size-fits-all approach for smart home technology that currently a lot of organizations deploy. And we're also not creating a niche product for sort of a certain product market fit, which also a lot of organizations are doing. We're kind of reversing this traditional approach to instead bring the solutions that exist today to the individual only when they actually suit that individual and in a way that's accessible, understandable, and simple to use. I guess a lot of suppliers out there today approach smart home technology either in one area of the customer experience. So, for example, they might just be selling hardware or they might just be doing installation, or they approach smart home technology customer experience as that linear model that ends when a customer purchases, which can create a lot of waste in this space. And at Homeable, one of our values is very much to not create waste in technology. So for us, nothing ends when a customer purchases. That's where the real value and the impact lies, because that's where the education continues. So we really make sure that the customer will know how to benefit. They'll know how to use the technology. So yeah, our customer experience is not traditional. It's not linear at all. And we understand that the touch points an individual requires with their customer experience will very much depend on their needs and their context. By no means at all do we believe that smart home technology is going to overcome every single issue in the home that people with a disability face today. But we also have no doubt on the impact that it can make to increase people's dignity, their freedom, empowerment, and kind of overall quality of life and well-being at home. And this is what we've heard from our community as well.
Fantastic. So let's dig into this impact side a little bit deeper then. Can you talk about some of the impacts that maybe people have shared with you in terms of how this is changing their lives or the potential that it may have to?
So we've heard a lot of feedback and impact from not only end users, but also sort of the wider community, including OTs and disability service providers. And a lot of the feedback is around giving back control, providing simplicity to solutions, improving quality of life, and also even giving back time. Because a lot of seemingly simple tasks for a lot of people, such as turning off lights, pulling up blinds, checking who's at the front door, or even unlocking doors, can be really huge, timely pain points for a lot of people living with a disability, and which can really be overcome by using the right smart home technology and the right education. Additionally, the people living with a disability want smart home technology to be fun and exciting and not only clinical, just like everyone else does. So we're creating that open community for support, education, and feedback so that our users can also be part of shaping the smart home technology of the future and kind of giving their say into how technology is going to be built by us providing that feedback. And so that also creates a really big impact on our community and our customers as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the safety implications as well are huge. You know, like you said, being able to see who's at the front door, being able to turn on lights so that you're not wandering around in the dark. I think these things are huge and can help people stay safer and healthier.
Absolutely. And home is where people should feel they're safest. And unfortunately, for a lot of people living with a disability, it's not often the case, and they're often a lot more vulnerable than other people as well. So that safety element is absolutely critical with what we do and what we've heard from our customers as well.
Phenomenal. And you mentioned just a few examples of the kinds of technology that people are incorporating into these homeable solutions, things like turning on and off lights, changing the blinds, and these cameras to maybe to see who's at the front door. Are there other examples that you can give to maybe inspire our listeners and give them some ideas of things that they could potentially be looking for in Homeable?
There's so much technology out there that we can customize to specific needs or even daily routines that someone might want to follow in their life at home. For example, there are smart door locks. So someone who's vision impacted or blind could open and close locks with their phone or voice or touch, etc. Or someone who uses a wheelchair, they might come home with shopping bags and carrying bags and wants to easily open the door, could also have this automated. There are also a lot of smart cleaning products such as robot vacuums that can really help people with limited mobility, especially for like ad hoc cleaning. And by that, I mean cleaning the kitchen floor after cooking rather than waiting for a cleaner that might be coming in a few days' time, for example. There's also the integration of routines into smart home technology, which I find really exciting because it enables helping people with their daily routines and productivity. And this can include all sorts of things from turning lights on and off at certain times, pulling blinds up and down at certain times, and creating schedules and planners to let someone know what plans or even appointments that they have on that day. But yeah, I mean, the really simple technologies such as lights and blinds and doorbell cameras can save people a lot of time. I actually spoke to a person recently who said they spend an hour every single night to go around their house and do these types of tasks.
Oh, wow.
On top of this, there are a lot of indirect benefits which this technology can bring, which is also very exciting, such as saving on electricity by not forgetting to turn things off, but also removing some safety concerns of not turning particular appliances off, such as portable heaters. But like I've said previously, I guess the real inspiration comes from understanding someone's unique needs, because the technology part is one element to it. The real value is how the individual can communicate with that technology and how it can communicate with the individual. For example, if you take a traditional smoke alarm or even like an oven beeping, it may not be appropriate for someone with hearing loss. And this is where that customization element of designing for a person's needs and the value of Homeable really comes in. The technology side is one piece to the puzzle, but it's how you actually use the technology and that user interface, which is the huge part, because some people might not want to use touch, some people might not want to use voice, and there's a lot of automations that you can actually create, but it's difficult if you don't understand how to do it. And that's where that education piece comes in.
Wonderful. So if you've piqued the interest of our listeners out there, where can they go to learn more about Homeable?
Yes, we would love you to visit our website. It's homeable.com.au. You can register your interest or even sign up to our newsletter there, because we're also trying to create more and more educational content on smart home technology. We also have an Instagram page and a LinkedIn page, so please feel free to follow that. And also, if you're interested, I'm also more than happy if anyone wanted to reach out directly to me or to the Homeable team to have a chat. You can find me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm always more than happy to sort of hear from you about your individual experiences and also share more about Homeable and our journey. So yeah, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for making yourself available to our listeners. Listeners, definitely get connected if you have questions or you want to chat. Check out that website and check out those resources to learn more about Homeable. And Zoe, it's been such a pleasure to have you with us on the show today.
Thank you so much, Marie, for having us. It's been awesome to be able to explain a bit more about Homeable, and I've loved this experience. So thank you.
We appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time today. Listeners, we are excited to let you know about the Cerebral Palsy Alliance Research Foundation's upcoming September campaign during the month of September. Each year, amazing people like you from around the world participate in this virtual health and wellness challenge to help us raise funds to support life-changing research and innovation for cerebral palsy. In 2021, we raised $1.86 million, and this year we are hoping to reach even more people to further advance critical, life-changing science for people with cerebral palsy. Registration opens on July 20th, but you can pre-register in advance. Visit www.steptember.us to sign up and learn more about how our September trainers can help you support a great cause and reach your fitness goals. Now, listeners, I am excited to introduce you to our next guest, Mel Le Bas, someone who has firsthand experience working with Homeable for her own home. So, Mel, welcome to our show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be a part of the show.
Well, we are excited to learn more about your experiences, but can you start off by telling our listeners a little more about yourself?
So I am a mother of two working full-time for a telecommunications company over here in Australia doing HR in the employee relations team. I absolutely am a fanatic of yin yoga. So when I'm not with the kids, you usually see me doing that on the weekends and in my spare time. And yeah, got involved with Homeable through a program they had last year. And yeah, just provided some information there about my experience living with a disability. And yeah, just sort of went from there to now being a part of the Homeable program. So yeah, it's really cool.
Excellent. So if we can dive into a little bit of detail, you mentioned a little bit about how you found out about Homeable. What initially piqued your interest about the company?
When our company was running the hackathon program, where basically Liam and Luke were trying to design a product that would help people with a disability, and they asked for our inclusion group that we have, who wanted to take part in some interviews when they were still in the conceptual stage, and started chatting with them about what things I find difficult in the home and how smart home tech could help. And it was really awesome to see, wow, there's actually people out here thinking, how can we use the technology we have currently to improve the lives of people with a disability and or improve the actual technology so that it's of more use to people. So it was really intriguing hearing them talk when I first met with them. And then I got to meet with them more and more as they were taking part in different programs, and then eventually sort of joining the team as like a HR advisor and a guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just so interesting, and you were so happy to know that there were people out there thinking of that and how they can make your life better and those of other people in the community. So yeah, it was really cool.
Definitely. And Mel, if you're comfortable sharing, can you tell us a little bit more about the specific maybe things that you were finding difficult around the home that you were hoping Homeable could help you with?
Yeah, so I have a neurological condition called small fiber peripheral neuropathy, and basically it impacts on how I'm able to use my hands and legs, especially on high pain days. So a lot of the things that I was finding difficult would vary depending on the day, but it could be as simple as turning a light on and off. And like you have your normal Google Home that you could link with your lights and tell it to turn on and off and things like that. But my peripheral neuropathy would also cause some breathing difficulties when the pain was bad. So I couldn't speak loud enough to actually notify Google or Alexa that I needed them to turn the light on and off. So you'd end up yelling so loud, and by that stage you'd be out of breath and then having a new issue on your hands with like trying to get everything back to normal breathing wise. So that was sort of one of the things. And then I was having another issue with breathing where I was sort of talking a little bit like, best way I can describe it is like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle, like a lot of big gasps in between each word. So that the smart home tech would time out by that stage. So you couldn't get it to do what you wanted to do. And on days like that, you just sort of, okay, well, I can't turn the light switch out. I guess I'm just going to have to leave it on, which isn't too bad when it's during the day or early evening. But when it comes time to actually going to bed, it really makes it hard. There were other things as well where it was like doorbells, blinds, which being in a rental I didn't have. But it would be amazing to have things where you could just say, okay, this thing to open up all the blinds for me, then I don't have to use my arms and legs and the energy that I do have walking around the house and opening that. I can just get straight into looking after the kids or get straight into work. So yeah, it was various things like that that I found really difficult in the home. And you don't realise until you have a disability, these so like simple, minute tasks become so hard and overwhelming for people with a disability.
Absolutely. I think it's easy to take some of these sort of simple things around the home, especially for granted, because they're just part of everyday life for so many people. So starting to work with Homeable, Mel, can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like?
Yeah, so my experience with Homeable has been great. It was great to see how far they've come since I very first met with them, and the genuine care when I meet with them as part of our weekly or fortnightly stand-up meetings to go through what we're working through each week. It's amazing to see everyone's compassion and their actual willingness and drive to make a difference. A lot of us in the team either have a disability ourselves or have been touched by it in some way through family or friends. And you can really tell that everyone's sort of on a mission to make people with disabilities' lives better. So you see that come through the meeting. You get wowed by the knowledge that each person has in their own field, especially for those of us who worked in the company that like the telecommunications company that we're in. We've sort of, not to toot our own horn, but the best of the best in the country when it comes to certain things. So you've got people who know so much about each of the little areas that they're working on that you just get wowed by their breadth of knowledge and the things that they can do with that knowledge, and that, we can create this, or we can tailor elements of our technology to do this. And you're like, wow, like I never would have thought that we could do that before. So I've loved my time working with Homeable on the guinea pig side and on the HR side. It's just amazing seeing that compassion and that drive.
Absolutely. And I think that sense that people care is so important because oftentimes that passion can then fuel innovation, which I think this company is doing a great job with. So if you were to describe to our listeners what the experience has been like from the process perspective, what are the steps that you've gone through so far?
For myself, it started even beforehand, like I said, as part of the hackathon program that was being run. But from the stage that most users would start to join with us is you fill out a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is based on the things you find hard to deal with in the home, your disability, how that impacts on you, how that then impacts on things in the home that you would find difficult. So we need to know why things are happening the way they're happening. So after that, a solution then gets tailored to you based on the needs that you've elected. So after filling out that questionnaire, you would then meet with some of the people in the program, so like Liam or Luke, who are designing the smart home tech basically, to then go through a little bit more in detail about what you need, as it's, it can be kind of hard to personalize things to the best of their ability with a questionnaire. We can gain so much information from a questionnaire, but we can gain a little bit more from actually speaking with you, and we can get that vibe on how important certain things are over other things. So meeting with them about that and then actually getting them to design something that works for my needs. So for myself, it would be things to turn the lights on and off, but in a way that I don't have to scream at the top of my lungs to do that, which makes a massive difference on me because I can then talk to my kids normally straight afterwards rather than be gasping for air or them looking at me like I'm strange for speaking like that.
Right.
So it's things like that personalization and the care, and that comes through when you meet with them for those meetings. Like I didn't know that there was an ability for them to adjust the sensitivity of their technology based on how people struggle with breathing and talking and things like that. So that was great seeing that. And then when you actually get to use the tech, you're like, wow, this makes so much of a difference. So yeah, that's sort of how I found the actual process, we're not fully finished and there's a lot of tweaking that still will need to be done. When you first get something in there and you may think, oh, this is great, we'll keep this, or, oh, I'd like to add that. And then you speak with them, they're like, yep, we can add that in. We'll just tweak this little bit. So it's been a great process along the user journey.
Fantastic. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you didn't know some of these options were available, because I think that's a problem that a lot of people face is they don't necessarily know what options are out there, what smart technologies might be available to help solve their problems. So I think that's a really important point to make.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think it may deter some people from getting smart home technology because it's like, oh, they won't be able to help with that. And it won't be able to help with this. And it's like, no, it actually can. Like if it's tailored a specific way, it can do an enormous amount of things. And come 5 years' time or something like that, you just think of what more we could be doing and how we could tailor that as well. We better fine tune it to people's needs. It's going to be sort of an amazing few years, I think, for the company and for smart home tech in general.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think based on your responses, I suspect I might know the answer to this next question. But Mel, would you say that Homeable has had a positive impact on your life at this point?
Oh, most definitely. Getting involved in the company, like I said before, that's made a positive difference mentally in that, wow, I know that people are actually getting involved and they are actively trying to help people in the community. Like this is really humbling and makes you so grateful. But then from an actual user tech side of things, I can just talk normally and say, turn the lights on and off, or the doorbell's going, you deal with that. So I am so happy and grateful that the tech has been able to assist me the way it has so far. And it's going to get even better and even more fine-tuned the more I continue to work with them and the more we continue to adjust things. The amount of difference that it's going to make in my life, you kind of can't put that into words. It gives you control back over your life and over the things in the home. And that's the biggest thing that people with disabilities, or at least myself, struggle with, is that lack of control being ripped away from you, or you've never had it before. So for them to give us that control back, you really can't put it into words. So I'll be eternally grateful to the team and for Liam and Luke for first engaging with me all those months ago. It's immeasurable.
That's wonderful, Mel. And I know the home is where you should, if anywhere in the world, feel safe and comfortable and in control. So I think that's great that you're on the path to getting things really fine-tuned to meet the needs that you have. So thinking big picture out there, outside of your own situation, who do you think might benefit from using Homeable?
So many different people. Even the general person can benefit from smart home technology, but for people with a disability dealing with Homeable, we can accommodate a wide range of people with disabilities. So we have spoken to people with sight impairments and how this can help them in the home by controlling light switches, controlling blinds, security cameras, doorbells, especially for vision impaired people. We can provide descriptions of things that are going on around the home from the security cameras outside or the doorbells so that you know who's there, and it gives you that control back over the environment that you live in, both internal and external to the home. And we can also help people with spinal cord injuries who can't get up and walk to do something, or if they can, they're in a lot of pain. So if they don't have to get up to deal with certain things around the home, like light switches, we've saved that person all of that pain, which you don't think getting up and going to turn the light on and then coming and sitting back down would cause you that much pain. But after you've had spinal fusions or you've got degenerative discs or whatever, that makes a massive difference. And you're in a world of pain when you have to just get up out of the car or get up out of the seat in general. So we can help with that. We can help people who are hearing impaired. We can rig lights that can link in with things like the doorbell, or smoke alarms would be a big one that we would hopefully be working on in the next few years, in that we can start to tailor responsive lights to people's needs when it comes to deafness and things like that. And people with neurological conditions like myself, we have more control now that we don't have to expend so much energy in doing basic daily tasks. And these are just a few off the top of my head. I truly believe we could cater to a very, very large proportion of the disabled population here in Australia.
Definitely. And then, Mel, of course, you can dedicate that energy to the things in life that really matter most. Like you said, your family, your kids, just enjoying your time there in the home. So I guess for listeners out there who might be on the fence or might be considering trying Homeable, do you have a message for them that you'd like to share?
In a way, you've got nothing to lose in that we're already here struggling. We might as well get some help for it. And when you're going to get help for it, you might as well choose a company who actually genuinely cares about the user journey and your needs and the things that you find difficult, and actually really want to make your lives a better place. And you want a company, like when you're going through these sorts of processes, you want to get that control back by having control over that smart home tech. You decide what you want home tech to do and how it's going to do that, when it's going to do that. So Homeable gives people that control, a large amount of control back in their life. So yeah, I encourage everyone who's on the fence, get involved. You're not going to realise until you actually get involved how much of a difference smart home technology can make, and then tailoring that to your needs. It's like I said before, it's hard to put into words, but you become very humbled and very grateful by the difference that this one company has made in your life.
Excellent. Well, Mel, we appreciate you joining us to share your insights and your experiences with everyone today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me here. It's always great to talk about these things and talk about the company and how we are making that difference. So I really appreciate you for having myself and the rest of the team on, and I really appreciate the listeners from listening in.
Wonderful, Mel. It's been great to meet you, listeners. It's been wonderful to have you here with us as well. We would be truly grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to let us know what you think of the show. And we look forward to connecting with you again in our next episode of Changing What's Possible.